So the next big topic is will be digital IDs. So this is not gonna bother you. It's not gonna be any different than having a driver's license. Um, but the DMV is obviously corrupt with all the fraudulent IDs that have been issued and that they're allowing them to use illegal immigrants. But the fraudulent driver's licenses, it bypasses citizenship. So the digital ID will expose fraudulent IDs because they won't be able to get a digital ID with a fraudulent ID. And not without proof of citizenship. The fraudulent IDs, fraudulent driver's licenses, they allow all access to U.S. institutions. So I think digital IDs is a good idea, and it's just like having a driver's license. But basically, digital ID is, you could also call it a neighborhood, nationwide neighborhood watch program. I mean, it's the same thing basically. So you just about already have, everyone already has a digital ID. That's your cell phone. Your cell phone pings. And if your phone ain't pinging and you walk by a police officer, or you're not pinging and you walk by a law enforcement and they know you're not pinging. And so there's the question right there. So the Hamas holes and supporters in the U.S., they're only a small minority. They're the minority that's making a lot of noise. So this is a minority sanction within the Democratic Party that's causing the problems in the U.S. and our U.S. flag burners. The majority of the Democrats and the Democratic Party, they're not U.S. flag burners. They're patriotic, but they don't have a voice. Because of the gerrymandering, and the voice is the minority of the Democratic Party that is speaking for the majority of the Democratic Party that's silent. The Republican Party has different factions in the party, you know, just like the Democratic Party. You got the minority faction and the majority faction. So 9/11 is still an ongoing attack and invasion. The evidence is 1 million plus overdoses and gerrymandering. It turns out that gerrymandering was and is a turf war. So the minority faction within the Democratic Party perpetrated gerrymandering right to the top with the Biden's auto pen scandal. I exposed Biden's auto pen. I educated through social media, through live YouTube, through their podcasts or whatever. So Meta estimates there's over almost half of the overdoses were black men. That confirms a hostile takeover of a district through an occupying minority to gain the territory over the voting districts. They gerrymandered the maps around, you know, the districts that were violently taken over by another minority sanction within the Democratic Party. And there's Republicans in local and state government positions and federal that knew and were involved in the gerrymandering and the illegal redrawing of the maps, the district maps. So the black men were a small minority in that made up the majority of the overdoses. There was more black men that overdosed with all other races or creeds combined, almost. So the drive-by shootings is another way that they, in the turf war, the drive-by shooter always goes unidentified, so there's no confirmation on what minority was behind the drive-by shooting, but it's probably not Latinos and it's probably not blacks, because I know black people pretty well, and I know black people are loyal to other black people. I don't think any other race has more loyalty between their own people than black people do. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm waiting to hear on information on how many legal, legitimate U.S. citizen government employees have overdosed since 9/11 and replaced by foreigners at the local and state level. Not so much the federal, because the federal are more exposed to the public, and it would be more noticeable. But there's still some have been replaced by foreigners. However they were replaced, and if they're still alive, or it could be the second or third, maybe third generation of foreigners holding a state and local position, because this has been going on since 2000. So there's an undetermined amount of fraudulent IDs that have been issued and in use. And the government is supposed to know all that. They would come out with a claim that they got an estimate, but they don't know, and they don't know how many is in use. But the fraudulent IDs come with fraudulent names. Is estimated 35 to 50. It's a big difference. Million active fraudulent IDs. So I also exposed illegal immigrants voting because they were counted on the census. They were voting in illegitimate, illegal representatives in Washington through gerrymandering. So Bondi brought the evidence that illegals were counted on the census. Comer brought evidence of Biden's auto pen, and Miller brought evidence of gerrymandering district maps. I exposed through social media by educating channel hosts through YouTube. So I'm just being forward about exposing corruption because there's no feedback or acknowledgement, and they wouldn't be talking about it if I hadn't educated them on the auto pen, the district maps, illegal representatives in Washington. They wouldn't be talking about even now. Their claim is they heard it through social media, which led them on to whatever. Their claim is conspiracy theory. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not the conspirator. It's common sense theory, and the common sense theory uncovers the conspiracy. There's no conspiracy here. So I would say yes to the digital ID. It sounds like a good idea. It's not going to cost anything. This ain't gonna hurt your pocket. You might have to go to a special office like a DMV office. They're gonna have to like use I don't know, whatever federal buildings they already have and set up a new program. But the fraudulent IDs, you know, they allow to bypass citizenship, because if you're walking around in this country with an ID, fraudulent ID and a name, nobody questions it, and you can get into anywhere, any school, because they think, you know, you got your fraudulent ID. Well, you must have had a birth certificate to get the ID. You must have a social security card, but they don't. So in order to get a digital ID, you're not going to be able to do it with a fraudulent driver's license. I can prove my citizenship. I have a birth certificate, I've got a social security card, I got a driver's license. That's all the proof you need. Well, I'm going to have to show that evidence when they ask for me to come get my digital ID. Right.